Hey, ladies. Welcome to Black Women Making Money. We are the home of the upwardly mobile Black woman. As you are coming in, please give us a thumbs up. I want to thank everybody who has been waiting patiently for me to get in here this evening. Today has been a crazy day at the job, but it has been good. We are actually over here uh, in the Cheree world, helping people get their funding for their houses, for their homes, for their real estate investment properties. And today I had an excellent call with True Mystique. So I want to thank her for being such a great consultant. We had a major breakthrough on the phone today. And if True Mystique listens to this, just to let you know, I'm a woman of action. I started putting things into place. So, shout out to True Mystique again. Anybody, if you are looking for somebody to help you build your social media channel, she's a virtual assistant, but she's like so much more than that for social influencers. So, again, go to True Mystique's channel. Both Deanne and I are using her services, and we would definitely love to see True Mystique's business grow. So, thank you so much again for being here. Hit the like button, ladies. Hit the like button. Put a 1 in the chat if you know who Charlie Munger is. Put a 2 in the chat if you've never heard of the guy. 1 in the chat if you know who Charlie Munger is. 2 in the chat if you've never heard of the guy. But we had a few of you ladies actually here waiting for me this evening. So I'm guessing you know who Charlie Munger is. I am sure you have heard the news with regards to Charlie Munger. First of all, who is Charlie Munger, or who was Charlie Munger, because he passed yesterday at the age of 99. Charlie Munger was the business associate, the second in command to Warren Buffett. And if you don't know who Warren Buffett is, you've been living under an investment rock. But Warren Buffett is pretty much the number one investor in the world. Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger ran a business because Charlie is dead now, called Berkshire Hathaway. And it was basically uh, the number one investment funding company out there ever. So, shout out to Charlie Munger. You know, a lot of Black people are not talking about Charlie Munger and his investing wisdom, his success. I actually didn't know that much about Charlie Munger until I started watching a couple of videos. The guy was kind of funny. Not kind of funny, he was very funny. I definitely suggest you all start going. I was starting to like go and get into some of the Berkshire Hathaway annual reports and things like that. Obviously I knew a little bit more about Warren Buffett. But Charlie Munger, I might be a fan of his. He may have found a new fan. So Jay Antoinette is in the building. Hello. And you have heard of Charlie Munger, and Alonzo is here saying salute. I know this is Alonzo. Alonzo, this is right up your alley, the kind of stuff you like to talk about. So yeah, some people may consider Charlie Munger old school. He obviously he was 99 years old. He was actually a month shy of his 100th birthday. So, but he did it the very old school way. He and Warren Buffett did not become super successful until their 60s. And now, one of the things that I was listening to as I was listening to various podcasts and commentary is, now a lot of people in their 20s, 30s, 40s are making the kind of money that Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett took years to make. But we may think that some of their advice is outdated. I don't think that it is. I think that there are things that can be added to their advice, but I still think that the basics are the basics. So, Jay Antoinette is saying, I've heard of Charlie Munger, but not too familiar with him. I know more about Warren Buffett. So, most people know more about Warren Buffett, but here's the thing. Warren Buffett admits that he would not be who he is without Charlie Munger. And it was Charlie Munger who got Warren Buffett to invest in Apple back in the day. Warren wasn't interested in Apple at all. And Charlie Munger was the one that said, no, 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 we should invest in this company. So Warren Buffett wouldn't have his coins quite the way that they are without Mr. Charlie Munger. Shout out to Mr. Charlie Munger. Alonzo saying, isn't it funny how he and Warren have the exact same voice and cadence? Well, I personally think they worked together so long that they probably started talking like each other. It's just like a husband and wife. Eventually, when they're married long enough, they start speaking in the same cadence, the same style, using the exact same words, etc. So I'm not surprised at all. Like, it's very hard to find people who are partners, and not just romantic, but just friends, etc., for life, like that, and both of them were. So, and Dawn to Earth is saying good evening. Good evening. Good evening. So, ladies, if you would please like the video, please like the video as you're coming in, share the stream. We're going to talk about what we as Black women and our Black man here, Alonzo, and any of my other Black male cloud watchers. You all know I like and love you all too. We're going to talk about Charlie Munger's investment wisdom. I have a couple of articles to share with you this evening. I have a couple of videos to share with you, and we're just going to chop it up, pay homage to this wise, wise man. So, with that, ladies, I'm going to share. Let's see here. I'm going to share the first article here with you. This is, of course, Charlie Munger, investing genius, and Warren Buffett's right-hand man is dead at the age of 99. Of course, this news came out yesterday, definitely rocked the business world, rocked the investing world. So many people liked Charlie Munger. He was a likable guy. And so key points: Charlie Munger made his fortune on his own before becoming vice chairman of Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway. He was also a real estate attorney, philanthropist, and architect. Actually, he was an attorney before he was an investor with Berkshire Hathaway. So that's how he made his money originally, as an attorney. Now, I don't know if he came from money. You all know these specific. So I have to admit, I hadn't had a chance to do all of my research because I had a crazy busy day today. I don't know if he came from money or not. When certain people say that they made their fortune on their own, and they did it themselves, and then lo and behold, you find out they came from from a family legacy, and you're like, sir, you were not poor growing up, sir. But I don't know about Charlie Munger. I would have to do more research. But anyway, Buffett said once of Munger, we think so much alike that it's spooky. So this is him here, born in 1924. So, billionaire Charlie Munger, the investing sage who made a fortune even before he became Warren Buffett's right-hand man, has died. He died on Tuesday. Berkshire Hathaway, the conglomerate, said it was advised by members of Munger's family that he peacefully died this morning at a California hospital. So, in addition to being Berkshire's vice chairman, Munger was a real estate attorney, chairman, and publisher of the Daily Journal Corp., a member of the Costco board, a philanthropist, and an architect. In early 2023, his fortune was estimated to be $2.3 billion, a jaw-dropping amount for many people, but vastly smaller than Buffett's unfathomable fortune of $100 billion. So why is Buffett worth $100 billion and Munger was worth $2.3 billion? I don't know. Maybe Alonzo knows in here or somebody else knows, but yeah. During Berkshire's 2021 shareholder meeting, the then 97-year-old Munger apparently inadvertently revealed a well-guarded secret that Vice Chairman Greg Abel will keep the culture after Buffett era. So this is one of the great things that I think about both Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger is that they have officially passed the torch to Berkshire Hathaway. Obviously, Charlie Munger is passed, but even before he died, he passed the torch to a younger person, a younger generation. Warren Buffett has passed the torch. And that's one of the sad things that I see within our Black organizations is that we oftentimes discuss and sometimes complain about the fact that the baby boomers and the silent era generation are not passing the torch to Gen X and millennials. We don't see it that much, but both Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett understand that Berkshire Hathaway is bigger than them. The media may have made it seem like it was just them, but it wasn't. They had the real vision and understanding that they are building a legacy. They are building a legacy. And Charlie Munger has built a legacy, and he had the foresight to pass the baton before it was too late. And that's a great thing. So, J. Antoinette is saying here, yes, those come up stories are often so misleading. They are. They are, especially because, and this is apparent, this really came through with Grant Cardone, because I used to follow Grant Cardone very closely, and he would say I was poor, we had nothing, blah, blah, blah. And then, as he goes more into his story, he grew up on a lake. His father died at the age of 10. His father left his mother life insurance, and his mother was able to use that life insurance, sell the house, buy a more modest house, and raise her 4 children off that. And when we hear, as Black people, when we hear that somebody is poor growing up, our definition of poor is different from other people's definition of poor. So, yeah, those come up stories are often misleading. They're self-made. Yeah, right. How many of you think that Kendall Jenner, Kim Kardashian's sister, Kendall Jenner, is a self-made billionaire? Like, stop it. So yeah, these come up stories are oftentimes misleading. You're absolutely right, Jay Antoinette. Once AKA own nothing, control everything. Yep, I've heard of that as well. I definitely have heard of that as well. So, is saying here a Munger who wore thick glasses had lost his left eye after complications from cataract surgery in 1980. Munger was chairman and CEO of Wesco Financial from 1984 to 2011, when Buffett's Berkshire purchased the remaining shares of the Pasadena, California-based insurance investment company it did not own. Buffett credited Munger with broadening his investment strategy from favoring troubled companies at low prices in hopes of getting a profit to focus on higher quality but underpriced companies. This is one of the main tenets of the Charlie Munger investment philosophy is uh, really focusing on great companies that are undervalued instead of focusing on troubled companies and trying to pull them out of the mud. And we as Black women can definitely appreciate and understand that investing wisdom. It's important for us as we are looking not only at our stock portfolios, but also at the types of careers that we're going after, the types of companies that we're joining. We should not be joining companies that are troubled. We should be going after companies that are higher quality, yet we can go in there and add something. The things that are going into our investment portfolios, are they high quality companies, but they're just underpriced? You're right. Geico was one of their best buys as well. Yeah. And so was Apple. They bought into Apple at the right time. So let's see here. It's saying here, an early example of the shift was illustrated in 1972 by Munger's ability to persuade Buffett to sign off on Berkshire's purchase of See's Candies, a $25 million for $25 million, even though the California candy maker had annual pre-tax earnings of only about $4 million. It has since produced more than $2 billion in sales for Berkshire. He says, this is what Buffett says. He weaned me away from the idea of buying very so companies at very cheap prices, knowing that there was some small profit in it, and looking for some really wonderful businesses that we can buy at fair prices. So, again, this is their investment philosophy. Or, as Munger put it at the 1998 Berkshire shareholder meeting, quote, it's not that much fun to buy a business where you really hope this sucker liquidates before it goes broke. So I'll say that again. It's not that much fun to buy a business where you really hope this sucker liquidates before it goes broke. So again, his whole philosophy was to not chase the losers, right? What can we as Black women learn about that? We should not be chasing the losers in any aspect of our lives. Family members, careers, investments, stocks we're holding, putting money into stuff. Some of us have businesses, let's say family businesses or small businesses, and we're putting good money in after bad. Sometimes it's better to close up shop. Sometimes it's better to close up shop than to hope the thing takes off before you run out of money. Now, obviously, you have to figure out those things within your own business and within your own companies. Within your own lives. But yeah, it's something else to think about. You're saying here, I can see how that vision/wisdom can be helpful for life in general, not just investing. Actualization versus potential. Absolutely. Absolutely, J. Antoinette. It's saying here, Munger was often the straight man to Buffett's jovial commentaries. He would say, quote, I have nothing to add. After one of Buffett's loquacious responses to questions at Berkshire's annual meetings in Omaha, Nebraska. But like his friend and colleague, Munger was a font of wisdom in investing and in life. And like one of his heroes, Benjamin Franklin, Munger's insights didn't lack humor. He said, I have a friend who says the first rule of fishing is to fish where the fish are. The second rule of fishing is to never forget the first rule. We've gotten good at fishing where the fish are, the then 93-year-old Munger told the thousands of people at Berkshire's 2017 meeting. Ladies, this is so important. This is so important with regards to investing wisdom and life wisdom. Fish where the fish are. Why are you trying to fight? Why are you trying to fight? So let's just bring it down to a couple of things that happen in our community. Fish where the fish are. Instead of me trying to drag Black people overall over the finish line, I'm going to fish where the fish are. If you're coming, you're coming. If you're here with regards to being, a Black woman making money, being on your purpose, focusing on your economic stability and thriving, I'm with you. If you're not in my pond, I'm not going someplace else to find you, right? How many of us spend our time trying to pull family members over the finish line, pull friends over the finish line, etc., right? Fish where the fish are could also mean our networking. That's one of the 4 tenets we always talk about on this channel, are the networks, the multicultural networks that we're building. We want to go where the fish are. We want to go where those individuals who are 2 to 3 levels above where we are networking. We want to be in those rooms. It is better for us to be in those rooms with 30, 40, 50, 60, 100, 200 of those individuals than for us to be fighting in order to get our resume read by some applicant tracking system. So, the first rule of fishing is to fish where the fish are. And the second rule of fishing is to never forget the first rule. Smart advice. He says here he is, or this says here, he's the son of the heartland. Charles Thomas Munger was born in Omaha, Nebraska on January 1st, 1924. His father, Alfred, was a lawyer. Okay, here we go. Father Alfred was a lawyer, and his mother, Florence, today was from an affluent family. So he did not, he ain't as self-made as, yeah, as we thought, right? Daddy was a lawyer. Mother came from an affluent family, right? And that's not bad. That's not bad at all. You know, he's obviously taken what he was given and grown it exponentially. But yeah, he came from a family that could put him in position to succeed. Okay. Like Warren, Munger worked at Buffett's grandfather's grocery store. So his grandfather had a grocery store. That's not broke, right? And I don't think Charlie Munger ever said that he was broke. So um, Munger worked at Buffett's grandfather's grocery store. Oh, so this was Warren Buffett's grandfather's grocery store. Sorry, as a youth. So these two had money, basically. Um, but the two future joined at the hips partners didn't meet until years later. At 17, Munger left Omaha for the University of Michigan. 2 years later, in 1943, he enlisted in the Army, according to Janet Lowe's 2003 biography, Damn Right. Uh, You are saying here that's part of the reason Warren kept a small home so his kids could have humble beginnings. And look, I appreciate Warren Buffett for that. I actually like Warren Buffett. So you're saying here, the article is saying the military sent him to the California Institute of Technology in Pasadena to study meteorology. In California, he fell in love with his sister's roommate at Scripps College, Nancy Huggins, and married her in 1945. Although he never completed his undergraduate degree, Munger graduated magna cum laude from Harvard Law School. I didn't know you could go get into Harvard Law School without an undergraduate degree, but okay. Um, he graduated in 1948. That's interesting. So he's a legacy student, right? Or his children are legacy students. I don't know where his father went to law school. Um, the couple moved back to California where he practiced law. He founded the law firm Munger, Tolles, and Olson in 1962 and focused on managing investments at the hedge fund Wheeler, Munger and Co., which he also founded that year. So he was always around money. Um, He's proud of being an Omaha boy, Munger said in a 2017 interview. He said, I sometimes use the old saying, they got the boy out of Omaha, but they never got Omaha out of the boy. All those old fashioned values, family comes first, be in a position so that you can help others when trouble comes. Prudent, sensible, moral duty to be reasonable is more important than anything else, more important than being rich, more important than being important, an absolute moral duty. And saying here, in California, he partnered with Franklin Otis Booth, a member of the founding family of the Los Angeles Times in real estate. One of their early developments turned out to be a lucrative condo project on Booth's grandfather's property in Pasadena. Again, he networked around money. He knew people who had money, etc. So, he's saying here, I had 5 real estate projects. I did both side by side for a few years, and in a very few years, I had $3 million to $4 million. And this was back in 1960s when $3 to $4 million was some money, right? Munger closed the hedge fund in 1975. 3 years later, he became vice chairman of Berkshire Hathaway. 1959, at the age of 35, Munger returned to Omaha to close his late father's legal practice. That's when he was introduced to the 29-year-old Buffett by one of Buffett's investors' clients. The two hit it off and stayed in contact despite living half a continent away from each other. Quote, "We think so much alike is spooky," Buffett recalled in an interview with the Omaha World Herald in 1977. "He's as smart and as high grade a guy as I've run into." So let me see what else you all are saying here. Okay, so everybody please like the video as you're coming in. We're just reading through. Let's see here. He says, "We never had an argument in the entire time we've known each other, which is almost 60 years. Charlie has given me the ultimate gift that a person can give to someone else." This is what Warren Buffett said. "He's made me a better person than I would have otherwise been. He's given me a lot of good advice over time. I've lived a better life because of Charlie." All intelligent investing is value investing, acquiring more than you are praying for, Munger said. "You must value the business in order to value the stock." So this is how he lived. So let's keep reading. I don't think we have that much left. It's saying here, during the coronavirus outbreak in early 2020, when Berkshire suffered a massive $50 billion loss in the first quarter. Can you imagine losing $50 billion? Woo! All right. It says here $50 billion loss in the first quarter. Munger and Buffett were more conservative than they were during the Great Recession when they invested in U.S. airlines and financials like Bank of America and Goldman Sachs hit hard by that downturn. Uh, Munger said, quote, "Well, I would say basically we're like the captain of a ship when the worst typhoon that's ever happened comes." He says, "We just want to get through the typhoon and we'd rather come out of it with a whole lot of liquidity. We're not playing, oh, goody, goody, everything's going to hell. Let's plunge 100% of our reserves into buying businesses." So, uh, many of you, if you follow them, you know that during that time they had a lot of cash and they held on to their cash, even though losing $50 billion is like yikes. But they still had a lot of cash and they refused to be reckless with their cash. And I think that that's an important lesson for us as Black women is to, you know, is to really be thoughtful about what we're doing with our cash and understanding how to not be emotional when things are going crazy in the market. That was a big lesson that both Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett have taught us. So, Munger donated hundreds of millions of dollars to educational institutions, including University of Michigan, Stanford, and Harvard, often with the stipulation that the school accept his building designs, even though he was not formally trained as an architect. He was like, "Look, if you want these hundreds of millions of dollars, I'm going to be an architect. If you want my hundreds of millions of dollars, look, put architect by my name. Put some respect on my name." So, uh, at Los Angeles's Harvard Westlake Prep School, where Munger had been a board member for decades, he ensured that the girls' bathrooms were larger than the boys' rooms during the construction of the Science Center in the 1990s. Well, good for him. Um, Anytime you go to a football game or a function, there's a huge line outside the women's bathroom, he said. Who doesn't know that they pee in a different way than men? Look, very observant of him. What kind of idiot would make the men's bathroom and women's bathroom the same size? The answer is a normal architect. So even as an architect, he was kind of thinking outside of the box. I like that. He was looking out for the ladies. Munger and his wife had 3 children, daughters Wendy and Molly, and son Teddy, who died of leukemia at age 9. Oh, sorry to hear that. The Mungers divorced in 1953. I didn't know that. But being the father of 2 daughters, he probably got to see a lot of the issues that they had, and he was able to navigate the world, as somebody who was, it seemed like, at least from the background point of view, looking out for women. You're saying here, LOL, I don't blame him. You want my money, you must take my advice. Look, everybody does that. Everybody does that. So he divorced his first wife in 1953. 2 years later, he married Nancy Barry, whom he met on a blind date at a chicken dinner restaurant. The couple had 4 children: Charles Jr., Emily, Barry, and Philip. He also was the stepfather to her 2 other sons, William and David. The Mungers, who were married for 54 years until her death in 2010, contributed a $43.5 million to Stanford University to help build the Munger Graduate Residence, which houses 600 law and graduate students. This says here, quote, you don't have a lot to envy. You don't have a lot of resentment. You don't overspend your income. You stay cheerful in spite of your troubles. You deal with reliable people and you do what you're supposed to do. All these simple rules work so well to make your life better. And they're so trite, he said. And staying cheerful because it's a wise thing to do. Is that so hard? And can you be cheerful when you're absolutely mired in deep hatred and resentment? Of course you cannot. So why would you take it on? So this is his life advice. We're going to kind of take these one by one. The first one he's talking about here is being envious. I agree with that, especially social media age. We're seeing people, they look like they're balling. They are taking pictures, on a seat, on a jet. They're taking pictures, slouched on a Lamborghini. They have, if it's a fella, he has 18 women around him, scantily dressed. If it's a lady, she's, dressed in Chanel and Gucci and all of this. And meanwhile, we don't know that they are catching hell in their homes, that they are broke, that they're about to go live the van life, etc., etc. Ladies, I am not envious of anybody. No matter, even if I know they're doing well, even if I know they're doing better than me, I'm still not envious. What God has for me is for me. The minute you become envious, you take the focus off of yourself and the things you should be doing, and you're expending all of that energy to somebody else. It's a dangerous thing. You're saying here, men with daughters are interesting. Men with daughters are either very sympathetic to women or antagonistic. That's true. That's true. They swing one way or the other. So don't have a lot of resentment, he said. Don't overspend your income. He talks about the fact all the time that you spend less than you make. So I'll admit right now, I'm spending all the money I make, but that is because y'all know I am rebuilding now. I'm actually getting to a point in the next few months where I will be able to start saving again. And I wanted to have this conversation with you ladies at some point. We need to figure out how to make enough money where we can save at least 25% of our income. Tony Robbins says that if you want better answers, you have to ask better questions. And I was listening to a gentleman who is in the mortgage industry. He's very successful. And he's like, he and his wife have been saving 25% of their income for the past like 20, 30 years now. Probably 20 years. And that got me to thinking, imagine if I could save 25% of my income for 20 years. And this guy makes a lot of money, right? So we want to have better thoughts with regards to and ask better questions. How can we save 25% of our income? There are some people who claim to save 90% of their income, 80% of their income, 50% of their income. But guess what? You have to make enough income in order to do that. We have to make enough income in order to do that. Sugar St. James in the building. I'm glad you're here. Glad you're able to make it. We're just talking about some basic investment advice, basic tenets of investing. Um, Not overspending your income. Stay cheerful in spite of troubles. It's sometimes a hard thing to do. Sometimes a very hard thing to do. But being optimistic no matter what. Um, you deal with reliable people. You deal with reliable people. I think this is going to be in the video that I'm going to show you, but he talked about that. He talked about being a reliable person and only dealing with reliable people. If you are dealing with unreliable people, then that puts you on edge. If you are, and this is if you have to deal with these, and some people like your mom or, you know, sometimes your siblings, things like that, you have to deal with the unreliableness of them. But just overall, why would you select a spouse that is unreliable? If your kids are young enough, teach them how to be reliable people. If you work at a job and you have a choice, you want to work around reliable people, because this is all about living long, living happy, being successful. We need to work around reliable teams. Dawn the Earth is saying, I learned that lesson years ago when I saw what the successful people I knew went through behind closed doors. Absolutely. I am not envious of any of them. I've seen it myself too, Dawn to Earth. Um, these simple rules work to make your life better. So let us watch this here, just a couple of minutes from Bloomberg Television, again about Charlie Munger. Shout out to Charlie Munger, who died yesterday at the age of 99.
Charles Munger served as alter ego, sidekick, and foil to Warren Buffett for almost 60 years as they transformed Berkshire Hathaway from a failing textile maker into an empire. A lawyer by training, Munger helped Buffett craft a philosophy of investing in companies for the long term. In 1962, the two men began investing in Berkshire Hathaway, a Massachusetts company that made men's suit linings. Even after the mills closed, Berkshire stuck around as the corporate vehicle for a growing conglomerate of companies. Focusing on businesses with strong brands and pricing power, Munger nudged Buffett into acquiring California confectioner See's Candies in 1972. The success of that deal inspired Berkshire's $1 billion investment in Coca-Cola stock 15 years later. At the company's annual meetings in Omaha, Nebraska, where he and Buffett had both grown up, Munger was known for his roles as straight man and scold of corporate excesses. The acerbic Munger so often curbed Buffett's enthusiasm that Buffett jokingly referred to him as the abominable no man. Still, for many years, Munger was more bullish than Buffett when it came to investing in China. His purchases of stock in Chinese automaker BYD resulted in Berkshire becoming that company's largest shareholder. And even as his partner became a worldwide celebrity, known far and wide as the Oracle of Omaha, Munger believed Berkshire's success would outlast Buffett's star power.
In my opinion, Berkshire will flourish after Warren's gone. I don't think anybody is essential given the momentum we now have in place.
He didn't overstate his own importance either, sharing his vice chairman title at Berkshire in 2018 with two next-generation senior executives, Greg Abel and Ajit Jain, and affirming the company's commitment to a succession plan.
Okay. All right. So, everybody, as you are here, please click the like button. Please click the like button. We are sharing in a successful discussion about Charlie Munger, his success. You know, they don't talk that much about his trials, but I'm sure outside of his divorce, he's had his own trials. He had to wear those glasses because of an issue with the cataract surgery he had. So that was pretty sad. So he's had his ups and downs, but overall, look, the guy was smart. If there were no Charlie Munger, there would be no Warren Buffett. And that's a lot to say, the fact that they invested in Coke, they invested in Apple. He wasn't a fan of crypto. He talks about that all the time in his later years. But, he had a lot of great things to offer us as investors, as people, etc. So we're going to watch probably half of this. This is some of his best advice and learning lessons. And let's click play, listen to a little bit more Charlie Munger.
If I know a person's role model, I can pretty well tell what kind of a person he is and what kind of a future he has.
There is no reason also to look only for living models. The eminent dead are in the nature of things some of the best models around. And if it's a model is all you want, you're really better off not limiting yourself to the living. Some of the very best models have been dead for a long time.
Well, no doubt many of you are wondering why the speaker is so old. Well, the answer is obvious. He hasn't died yet. Another idea that I got is that wisdom acquisition was a moral duty. It's not something you do just to advance in life. Wisdom acquisition is a moral duty.
Wisdom acquisition is a moral duty. Becoming wiser is a moral duty. When we do not read, when we do not study, when we do not strive for our best selves, then in my opinion, we're letting God down, we're letting ourselves down, we're letting society down. This is part of the reason why in the Black community, it's so disheartening that so many of us, not us here, but us in general, are so complacent. So complacent. There's no striving. There's no wanting to get better. The other thing that he said before is looking for models. Looking for models in life is so important. Looking for models in business, looking for models in your career trajectory. That's one of the reasons why I said to all of you that one of the best things you can have is either a business mentor or a career mentor to help you navigate the waters of your life, your success, etc. But we should be always looking to collect skills. We should always be looking to collect skills. He's saying that it is our moral duty to do so. Let's keep listening.
And there's a corollary to that proposition, which is very important. It means that you're hooked for lifetime learning. And without lifetime learning, you people are not going to do very well. You are not going to get very far in life based on what you already know. You're going to advance in life by what you're going to learn after you leave here.
It's not also what you learn, it's how you learn, it's how fast you learn, it's how fast you adapt, especially these days in life, in business, with the rise of AI, with the rise of robotics. We must be lifelong learners if we expect to level up. And we can never, ever stop learning. Let's keep listening.
If you take Berkshire Hathaway, which is certainly one of the best regarded corporations in the world, and it may have the best long-term investment record in the entire history of civilization. The skill that got Berkshire through one decade would not have sufficed to get it through the next decade with the achievements made.
The skill that got Berkshire Hathaway through the 60s was not the skill that they needed to get it through the 70s, which was not the skills that they needed to get it through the 80s, which was not the skills that they needed to get it through the 90s. Are you, Black women, are you still using skills from 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, in order to try to make it today? Are you relying on those skills, or are you asking yourself, what skills do I need 2, 3, 5 years from now? And you're collecting those skills now. This is vital. This is very important. This is part of Charlie Munger's investing wisdom. One of the things that we've said on this channel is one of the first things that you want to invest in outside of your emergency fund and life insurance. You want to invest in your career. You want to invest in your skills. You want to invest in whatever you need to invest in, your technical skills and your soft skills, in order to make an above average income. You also want to invest in your networks, your multicultural networks, the activities you're participating in, whether it's associations, professional organizations, chambers of commerce, and not just Black ones. You want to invest in multicultural ones as well. But you are looking to skill stack. If a lot of times we as Black people are getting into things way too late. We need to be at the forefront of the upcoming skills that we need in order to be successful. This is the exact same thing that Charlie Munger is saying. How many of us are using skills from 2015 and trying to say, I'm going to level up for 2024 and 25? It's not going to work. Not going to work. Nafisa is in the building. Good evening. Yes, please watch the replay. You're saying that's a good question. You're saying here, Alonzo, that you just shared this with your mom. Yeah, absolutely. You got to have next level skills. Dark and Lovely is in the building. Hello. Been tuned and quiet, prompted by Charlie's eye surgery. Announcement recalls on generic brand eye drops, so throw them out. Okay, that's a great thing to know. And I know that you actually are, getting through that with regards to your eyesight. So definitely thank us for letting us know about the generic brand eye drops. I don't have any, fortunately. I just have a brand, but I will definitely check the FDA list as well. Thank you for saying that. Let's keep listening what Charlie Munger is saying.
Without Warren Buffett being a learning machine, continuous learning machine, the record would have been absolutely impossible. The same is true at lower walks of life. I constantly see people rise in life who were not the smartest, sometimes not even the most diligent, but they are learning machines. They go to bed every night a little wiser than they were when they got up. And boy, does that habit help, particularly when you have a long run ahead of you.
So he said something important there. He said that the people who are the smartest are not the people who are necessarily the most successful. The most successful people are the most avid learners. So, and I'll admit this, within my company, I personally would like to spend an hour a day doing just pure education for like mortgages. These days, I'm getting in probably 3 hours a week, which is good, but it's not great. I even need to do better than that. Well, actually, I'm getting more in because technically I do a lot of loan research for my clients, which teaches me a lot. So I'm probably underestimating. But The truth is, I would like to even add more time, more dedication, more thought with regards to my learning for my skill set. So the question is for you, how much time do you spend in actual study for your technical skills? How much time are you spending every week for studying your soft skills, right? These things are important. These things are important. If your bank account is not as good as it should be, if your bank account is not as high, I should say, as it should be, check out the amount or lack of learning that you're actually doing, and not just random podcasts, not just random YouTube videos, like really sitting back and thinking, if I were to create a syllabus, if I were to create the Cheree syllabus that's needed for Cheree to have the skills to make double the money in 2024 as she's making right now, what skills would I need? What courses would I need? When would I need to take those courses? How much would I need to invest with regards to money? How much would I need to invest with regards to time? Making a real plan. It is officially November 30th, 2023. You can have a plan in the next week. Some of you can even knock some of this stuff out before the end of the year. But not being random with your education, with your skill education, not just your bachelor's degree and all of that, but with the skills you're accumulating is a big part of success as well. Let's keep listening.
It's amazing how much achievement there's been in civilization in these last 200 years, and most of it in the last 100 years. What happens is, it's really interesting, is with all this enormous increase in living standards and freedom and diminishment of racial inequities and all the huge progress that has come, people are less happy about the state of affairs than they were when things were way tougher. And that has a very simple explanation. The world is not driven by greed, it's driven by envy. The fact that everybody's 5 times better off than they used to be, they take it for granted. All they think about is somebody else having more now, and it's not fair that he should have it and they don't. That's the reason that God came down and told Moses that you couldn't envy your neighbor's wife or even his donkey. It's weird for somebody my age, because I was in the middle of the Great Depression when the hardship was unbelievable. I was safer walking around Omaha in the evening than I am in my own neighborhood in Los Angeles after all this great wealth and so forth.
He was safer walking around Omaha in the Great Depression than he is Los Angeles in whatever year that was, probably a few years ago. Because people are envious. The white woman has more than us. The Asian woman has it better. The black man has it better. The light-skinned black woman has it better. The dark-skinned black woman has it better. She has better hair. Her father was in the house. All of these things. Envy, envy, envy. And I learned this from once I started sitting down and talking to people. I'm like, I wouldn't trade places with you. And this was years ago, before social media. Now you could just go on TikTok and hear people's stories and be like Alonzo said, wow. No. Envy, I agree with him that envy does something to you. You see people and you all of a sudden stop paying attention to your race. because you're so busy looking at what somebody else is doing. The old saying, the grass is greener on the other side. No, it isn't. How many of us have gotten to the other side and looked and said, let me go back to where I was? Jay is saying you can't fret over what you don't have. Work the best with what you have. You've got essentially. Exactly. And you can, especially in the United States of America, you can level up. You can, if you can't do it here, you can't do it anywhere. Let's keep watching.
I want to report to all of you that in my whole life, I've never succeeded much in something I wasn't interested in. So I don't think you're going to succeed if what you're doing all day doesn't interest you. And you've got to find something you're interested in, because it's just too much to expect of human nature that you're going to be very good at something you deeply dislike doing. And that's one big issue. And of course, you have to play in a game where you've got some unusual talents. You do not want to play.
So I really enjoyed this aspect of what he was saying. He said, find something that you're interested in, but more importantly, find something where you have unusual talents. Find something where you have a competitive advantage. For me, my competitive advantage is I communicate well with people, and I know how to make people feel comfortable, especially around financial issues. I know how to read something that's complex and break it down and make it simple for people. I have an unfair competitive advantage. I'm fortunate that I'm not shy. I'm fortunate that I'm not an introvert. I know that some of you are. Even in your introvertedness, everybody has a talent and everybody has an unfair competitive advantage. And if you work with something that you like and you work with something that you're good at, then you can do well. So we have people on social media now saying to people, only choose a job that, is in STEM. Only choose a job that's in STEM. If it's not in STEM, it's not worthwhile. And yet, there are people who are good at creative things like baking and, food and all of that. And they can have an unfair competitive advantage. My World is here saying I'm often quoting him and Warren. Yeah. And Charlie Munger was funny. So there's another video that showed all of his like jokes. He was apparently like a one-liner guy. But this unfair competitive advantage, all of us have one, and all of us need to exploit our unfair competitive advantage. Right? Let's keep listening.
If you're 5'1", you don't want to play basketball against a guy that's 8'3". It's just too hard. And so you got to figure out a game where you have an advantage, and it has to be something you're deeply interested in. What are the core ideas that have helped me? Well, luckily, I got at a very early age the idea that the safest way to try and get what you want is to try and deserve what you want. It's such a simple idea. It's the golden rule, so to speak. You want to deliver to the world what you would buy if you were on the other end. There is no ethos, in my opinion, that is better for any lawyer or any other person to have. By and large, the people who've had this ethos win in life, and they don't win just money, just honors and emoluments. They win the respect, the deserved trust of the people they deal with. And there is huge pleasure in life to be obtained from getting deserved trust. Well, that's a wonderful.
All right. Alonzo is saying here STEM stands for sales, technical equipment, and maintenance. Well, definitely sales. Definitely sales. I will say that much. But Charlie Munger was talking about deserving what you want, putting out into the universe the kind of customer service and customer relationship that we would want to have. And based on how we're navigating, the right people should be attracted to us. We're going to watch a little bit more of this, and then we shall be done for the evening. I'm actually going to pass over this one, and we're going to come here to fraud. Let's see this here.
I think you're asking for a lot if you want some simple way of not being taken in by the frauds of the world. If you stop to think about it, enormously talented people deliberately go into fraud, drift gradually into it because the culture carries them there. And the frauds get very sophisticated and they're very slickly done. I think it's part of the business of getting wisdom in life that you avoid getting taken by the frauds. And so I think you're asking a very good question, but I don't think there is any short answer. I think there are whole fields that you can just quit claim because it looks like there's too much fraud in it. And I think we do a lot of that, don't we, Warren?
Yeah. How many times have we been defrauded in the last 20 years, sir?
Well, damn little that we can. It's amazing how little.
Yeah.
And I've always said that the guy who takes us is going to have a modest little office and modest demeanor. And
the guy who takes Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett is going to have a modest office and a modest demeanor. The minute people roll in with a whole lot of flash, they have checked out. How many times have I said it personally on this channel? How many times I said personally on this channel, if I see you roll up in a Lambo and you got Chanel and you got Gucci and all of that on, I've checked out. I've checked out. Charlie Munger is saying the same thing with regards to fraud. The slicker you are, the more they have checked out.
He'll carry around Ben Franklin's autobiography, I can guarantee it.
The kind of people who defraud us are not going to be the kind of people who are defrauding everybody else. Well, one of the reasons our audit costs are so low is we have this passion for keeping everything simple. We don't want to be difficult to audit. And we prefer activities that are simple. If you take the See's Candy Company, the whole company goes to cash at the end of December every year as if it were a farm where the crop came in and was sold in December. I mean, an idiot could audit the See's Candy Company without getting into trouble. And there's a lot in Berkshire that's like the See's Candy Company. It would be really hard to screw up.
Problem.
All right, ladies. So he had a lot of great gems. Put a one in the chat if anybody wants to come up. If anybody wants to come up, put a one in the chat. I will drop the link. If not, I'm going to make some final comments and we're going to head out here. Alonzo is saying, hence why things like DJ Envy should give people pause, although it may seem like a noble cause. I agree with that. And there were a lot of things in that specific video that Charlie Munger said that I was like, yeah, it makes sense. It makes absolute sense. Warren Buffett is considered the greatest investor ever, but he would not be Warren Buffett without Charlie Munger. Every great person that you see out there has somebody behind them, pushing them, guiding them, directing them, suggesting things to them, influencing them. Warren Buffett is probably considered the first financial influencer and one of the greatest financial influencers. Yet who influenced Warren Buffett? Who influences Warren Buffett? Probably still from his deathbed, Charlie Munger is going to be influencing a lot of people. A lot of people. So I don't see anybody putting a 1 in. So you all aren't interested in coming up. That's fine. We are going to, I'll wait here just a couple more minutes. Other than that, I'm going to call it an evening. I just wanted to come and pay homage to Charlie Munger, have us talk a lot more about investing, talk about some of the philosophies that we want to have with regards to our lives, how we're managing our lives, how we're navigating our lives. One of the biggest things we can invest in is our skill sets. We can invest in our skill sets. So I see a 1 here. So I'm going to put the StreamYard link in. Invest in your skill sets. Investing in making invest in skill sets, invest in networks, invest in making enough money that you could save 25% or more of your income. Invest in your children, not just money, but time as well, etc. So, hey, Alonzo, how's it going?
Hey, Cheree, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. Wonderful article. I just wanted to briefly, number one, thank you for the content that you put out there, and ask you to continue to put out the influence to upwardly mobile Black women, because it is something that is a beautiful thing and does need to be supported. Uh, at least from other areas that I see, even if it is from afar.
Mm-hmm.
Um, But in regards to, and I'll be really brief because I'm sure you'd like to get back to your day. Um, the One of the things that I mentioned with um, eh, Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, they had a slow and steady um, investment strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I mentioned, and that you actually pointed out earlier on in the article, was the old school investment strategy. And one of the things that people don't realize, like you said, these guys became well-to-do in their 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Still today, the average American really doesn't reach financial prominence until 52. So, you know, again, when we see these Lambos and stuff, you can rent a Lambo now for like $200, and
Mm-hmm.
$200 is not that hard to get, right? Um, so things look great because maybe in your small town, you've never seen anywhere to even go rent a Lambo. So to see a kid driving a Lambo, you think is actually his. Um, but the slow and steady won the race, and they'll look at the time horizon. So there's a couple of things in investment and investment terms that you should ask of any financial professional, especially when they're talking about an investment. One of those things is time horizon, which means how long you want to be in the investment. Give me 1 second. My cat is knocking things down from my table.
Okay.
But one of the things you want to look at is your time horizon, which is how long you're, going to be in the investment. Then you want to look at the return on investment, or your rate of return. Warren Buffett states that the average return on investment is 10% over the average time horizon, which is 20 years. Okay. So these guys are also 100 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So this is why they are where they are financially, because they didn't bring on that stress. One of the stresses that they didn't bring on was during investing, they weren't watching the market every 5 minutes. The only reason they would be watching the market, well, at their age, they're concerned with RMD, so they have a different scenario
Right.
than most
And
Americans.
look, they are the market these days. No, they sneeze and people report on it. So, but
Yeah,
yes.
this is true. Uh, but they literally just sat on stuff for so long that, it just accreted, and then they were able to live off of dividends.
Mm-hmm.
One of their major things is dividend paying companies. And lastly, one other enormous purchase from Berkshire was Mutual of Omaha.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously being Nebraskans. But I actually write for a company that's a direct competitor in the Midwest to Mutual of Omaha, which is Emeritus, and they're in Lincoln, Nebraska. Also Lincoln Financial Group. But that's it. Also, I changed my name to SMIB, Social Media Insurance Brother. So
I like that. So let me show you this. I found this article a while ago. I forgot I had it until you started talking. Um, Charlie Munger. This is when he was still alive. This article came out. Came out. Must have been updated a couple of days ago because I
yeah,
know
they
I had it.
yeah.
But yeah, Charlie Munger pocketed $70,000 a year from a $1,000 investment he made in 1962. you know, 1962, he made a $1,000 investment and he pocketed $70,000 a year and
Mm,
likely raked in over $1 million total. So um, it's saying here he was raking in 70,000 a year from what? Disclosed the initial cost of his oil royalties and what they yield today. So
uh,
Munger placed his oil bet in 1962 after meeting a businessman named Al Marshall during a husband and wife golf tournament. At the third hole, Marshall outlined his plan to bid on a local oil royalty auction. Munger responded in characteristically blunt fashion, "You're doing it all wrong." Marshall enlisted Munger to join his bid and sort out the legal and financial aspects of his purchases. Remember again, Munger was a lawyer, right? Um, Munger's deal structure included an ABC trust, a type of tax shelter that has since been outlawed. Uh, I'm still getting $2,000 to $3,000 a month from that, Marshall told author Janet Lowe for her book. Quote, "We only put up $1,000 each, and we've each probably made a $500,000 out of it." Now, first of all, he was in the right place, right?
mhm.
At the right time, with the right network, with the right skills, and $1,000 in 1962.
That's a lot of
All
money in
it,
1962, by the
yes,
way.
it was. Diamond Dave is in the building. Hello. You can come up, Diamond Dave, if you want
Diamond
to.
Dave, what's up, brother? Yeah, I want to get with you. I'd love to go over the question you asked, um, because I'd love to be able to show you that.
I'm sure you all know what you're talking.
Yeah,
He
well,
knows
he,
what
he
you're
asked
talking
the
about.
question on a video I did about purchasing term and investing, the difference.
Oh, okay.
Um, and I'd love to go over numbers with him.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for the super chat as well. Great show. This team bought individual stocks and not indexes. However, many people use them as an example of passive investing. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. So thanks, Diamond Dave, for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Look, so I do think that that was an important lesson of when the opportunity arose, he had the skills and he had the resources to take advantage of it. And how many of us are not prepared and not ready when opportunity comes?
So often,
S-
so often.
Exactly. Exactly. So I read this article, like they just updated it because I'm like, no, no, no. I've had
Yeah,
this
no, they do that
in
often.
my yeah. I was like, I've had this in my list for a while, and I just never had a chance to really talk about it. But yeah, you make $1,000 investment, and you're making 70,000 a year, and it's kept that investment as well. So get
Exactly,
out
they
of it.
sit on it. So
Mhm.
one of their, like Dave said, even with the individual stocks that they pick, they always pick dividend paying stocks,
Mhm.
right? So when you have a dividend paying stock, that means that it's the company is sharing or allowing you to participate in a percentage of the profits, and they pay that back to its shareholders. Could
Mhm.
be quarterly, could be annually, could be monthly.
They
But
also didn't choose loser companies. That was the other big thing that I really honed in on when I was reading the article. They chose companies that were well managed, but just underpriced, right?
right,
They weren't looking for turnaround situations because that's what Buffett was originally trying to do. And let's be real, if it wasn't for Charlie saying, no, let's why are we looking for losers? Let's look for these winners that are just undervalued and underpriced. Um, I don't think Warren Buffett would be where he is today. If
he'd probably
like
be just some regular guy.
some regular guy. He'd probably still be rich. Don't get it twisted. I'm not saying
Oh
the
yeah,
guy wouldn't
no,
be rich, but he wouldn't be Warren
not in the
Buffett.
billions. He might have a couple $1 million, or
Yeah, yeah,
one
yeah.
or two, but not tens of billions.
And I think that's important for us as well. We need to really look at where the winners are, not just in investing, but in our careers and in life as well. Like, that's one of the reasons why I joined the industry I'm in and I joined the company that I'm in, is because I wanted to be around A players. And I wanted to, my boss, when he recruited me, he's like, what you're doing is what I was doing before was a good way to make money, but it wasn't a good way to create um, income after I retire, you know?
Mm,
And now, like, I'm building a business that at some point I will be able to get uh, revenue, like, once the business systems are built. So, but you have to be in a position to be able to take advantage of those things, and you have to have the skill set and the networks to be able to be
touche,
offered something like that.
touche. It's definitely. I will give you an example, something
Mhm.
similar to them, which is why things like humble beginnings. I made that comment earlier.
Mhm.
For example, myself, right? When I become a multi-billionaire, I'm going to say I came from humble beginnings,
Mhm.
because I did from New Haven, Connecticut. But most people's perception or knowledge of New Haven, Connecticut is Yale University.
Mhm.
Yale is not, cheap. Connecticut is one of the, I think it's Washington, D.C., then Connecticut, that you need to have the most money to be a top 1%,
Mhm.
right? So, when you think of Connecticut, you pretty much think, we puke money, right? Um, that's so that's why that come from nothing story, because often, um, though you come from affluence, they make you work a little bit harder for it.
Mhm.
They will not give you those opportunities because they don't want it to be squandered. Prime example: Buffett nor Munger. No, I'm not leaving my kids anything. And, well, you're 100 years old. What are your kids, 60? Do they really need anything? But
They might want it. They may want it. Yes. But here's the thing. Just because they didn't leave their kids anything doesn't mean they didn't leave their kids anything. And what I mean by that is they probably gave them the best schooling.
hmm
They probably gave them the best access to internships. They probably can still leverage daddy's name,
well, yeah,
daddy's networks,
oh
things
yeah,
like that. So just because they didn't, and I still think they left them some cash, like, I mean, or property or something. I don't believe they left them like totally with nothing. Um, but they still have so
no,
much
they have
that can be
family
leveraged.
trust.
Hmm. They have so much that can be leveraged as well. That they, if they played their cards right, they should never be poor.
Yeah, but that's one thing actually that you mentioned with Grant Cardone,
Mm-hmm.
because especially amongst the Black community, one of the things that we mention all too often is generational wealth.
Mm-hmm.
And there's another person that I watch on YouTube, and he mentions the major issue is generational knowledge. And that's one of the things that I explain to people all the time, especially when it comes to things like life insurance, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's great to leave someone life insurance money, but you have to have them know what to do with it. Because
Mm-hmm.
it's really easy to get a check for $1 million and go,
And
"Ooh,
squander
I'm
it. Mm-hmm.
yes." Very easy. And so,
Or, or, so let's go back to the DJ Envy Caesar Pena thing.
mm,
And I'll say alleged because he hasn't gone to trial yet, or to get that money and to invest it in a Caesar Pena who says, I'm going to take this money and give you 40% without you having the knowledge that those returns are very unrealistic for the industry. So
mm,
sometimes it's not even about you squandering it. Sometimes you really do try to do the right thing, but you don't have the generational knowledge to know what kind of investments you should be getting into.
mm,
Because some of the smartest, I think, smartest guys that I see out there, they make their money in business, for example. They sell their business and they put all that money into an index fund. And I know you may not like that, but they're like, look, I know how to make money in business. Anytime I try to get funny with my investing or fancy with my investing, it just doesn't do anything. So these guys will like start another startup with hardly any money these days because you don't need a lot of money to start up something, and they'll just keep their money in an index fund.
oh no, I don't mind that at all. I'm not a money
Hmm.
manager, so I know I talk like a money man. Everybody tells me that all the time. I talk like a money manager,
Yeah, I
but
think you just have to know your strengths. So at least they're not losing their money. That's how I feel.
index
Obviously, it
funds
goes
are
up and
very
down with
safe.
the yeah. I mean, obviously it goes up and down with the market, but overall, they're not going to lose their money.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But that's the thing, when what also happens is, and I'll let this be my last point. I'm sorry.
Hmm.
Um, they with those safe investments. Um, so it's CSI, right? Coverage Savings Investments.
Hmm.
So now that they have those safe investments, they have, safety net, et cetera, et cetera. That allows them, like you said, the opportunity to uh, be less risk averse,
Hmm.
and take those deep dives. Um, but they also generally didn't go into a lot of their investments looking for even they looked for long-term accretion, not quick accretion. And I think that's something that people want to look at as well. Is not just potential but ambition and long term, versus is this a 3 6 month thing, or is this a 15 20 year thing,
Hmm.
whether that be investing, careers, mating and dating, whatever it may be, even if it's food choices. Because trust me, I'm learning from some senior gentlemen in my life that decisions they made 25 years ago are catching up, and I'm
Hmm.
at the age that they made those decisions.
Hmm.
Well, thank you, Cheree. I appreciate it.
You are welcome. Thank you for coming up. I want to thank the sponsor of the show, Diamond Dave. I want to thank Alonso. I want to thank, of course, all my ladies. And, let's just take the wisdom of Charlie Munger and the spirit of Charlie Munger and add it to our lives, as Black women in 2023, 2024, and beyond. So that is it for me. I'll see you all in a couple of days for Small Business Saturday. Take care, ladies. Good night.